Hey YouTube, today we're going to do a comparison between an old design and a new design. And what we have here in front of us, we have a couple of weapons that are probably the highest level of their category. And before we go any further, I'm going to show you that neither one of these weapons have anything in them, and we are clear to make this video. We have never shot anybody through a camera, and today we're not going to deviate away from that. So what we have here, we're gonna call these the top of their game. This is a Sig P320 Legion, and this is chambered in the almighty 9mm. For all the people who love 9mm, here's one right here. And I got a comment the other day, and I've had them in the past, saying that the 1911 here that we're going to compare it for is an irrelevant gun, and it will not compete in today's time with something like this. So let me go over some of the few of the features that this thing has. So this has ambidextrous slide stops on it on each side. It has no external safety on it whatsoever. This one here happens to be outfitted with a threaded barrel on it. So you could put a suppressor on it if that's what you were wanting to do. So it actually has raised adjustable sights on it. See, these sights are adjustable for each way, windage, and elevation, and they are raised so they can see over a suppressor. So this particular one here has tritium inserts in it, and it's got night sights, and on the front one here has like a fiber optic outside, kind of like a green, and it's got a tritium insert. You have a real good sight picture on them. It's kind of like a battle sight. And some of the other features on this thing is it holds a 17 round double stacked magazine, 17 rounds, and this particular model comes with a little aluminum base plate. It has their little Legion logo on it, and this one has a ginormous magazine chute in it, or magwell on it, and this thing has the insert in it that adds weight to this thing, so it actually balances this gun out. It's a really heavy gun, folks, real heavy gun when you hold it in your hand, and that's to balance the weight out. So it's a flat shooting, low recoil, kind of like a competition style gun. And some of the other stuff in it, this thing, the Legion model, Legion is a gimmick, folks. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it's a gimmick. And what it is a gimmick for people to buy something and be part of a club. It's called the Legion Club. And when you buy one of these things, you get this little coin that says you're a Legion member, and it has whichever Legion model you have. And this one happens to be the P320. They have them in the 220s, the 226s, every different Sig Sauer gun. They have a Legion model, and they usually outfit them with a bunch of cool stuff on them. But the Legion thing is a gimmick, folks, and nobody cares about a coin. So some of the other things on this thing is it's got a plate here where it's cut out for putting an optic on it. Now with this particular one, I'm not like a huge optic guy anyway on a pistol, but on this particular one, when you remove this plate, it's a little bit harder to do than it is on some of your more conventional ones. But when you remove this plate, you also lose your rear sight. So this becomes useless, your front sight becomes useless, and all you have is an optic. And if that optic fails, well, then you have nothing. And if you're actually using this for self-defense or in some type of battle situation, I can't imagine anybody getting in a battle with a handgun. But if you were to do that and that optic failed, you would have no backups on it. So that's my only problem with that, and I don't plan on really putting an optic on this. But so with the Sig Legion here, this one here is a more higher end, and it's got what they call the enhanced trigger group in it. So it's a flat face trigger, as you can see, and this trigger, I must say, is pretty amazing. So there's your only take up you have on them, and you hit a definite wall, and there's your brake on it. And then your reset on it is going to be very tactile, and then it goes off. Pretty awesome gun. I mean, just a really well built gun. It's got very good texturing on it. It's got texturing on the front and the rear strap on it. It's got a high undercut on it, so you can get a good grip on it. So My opinion, what is this thing good for? It's absolutely not good for carrying because it's a very big, bulky, heavy gun. It takes up my entire hand in it. As you can see, I got pretty large hands, and this thing takes up my entire hand. But it's a good range gun, or it would be a very awesome self-defense gun, like a nightstand gun or something like that for your home protection. But it is 9mm, and it holds 17 rounds. 9mm love to brag about. 9mm people love to brag about how many rounds they hold, but this one is a big one. It holds 17 plus 1. Very well built. There's no rattles or anything like that. All the tolerances seem to be pretty good. It seems to operate very well, and I've never had a malfunction with it. But this is your Sig P320. They call this the Carry Legion. And I just don't understand the carry thing, but they do make a longer one, a full-size one, but this is the shorter barrel one. Very cool gun. What we're going to compare that to here is probably in another league of its own, and this is a Wilson Combat Professional, and this one's called the Tactical Elite. And this one's got all the bells and whistles of a 1911. And what folks have mentioned here lately is a 1911 is not a relevant gun and cannot keep up with something like this more modern gun that I just showed you. So I'll go over some of the features of this gun. This one holds 8 rounds, so it's an 8-in-1, and this one's chambered in 45 ACP. And as with all 1911s, you try and use Wilson Combat magazines. Well, this one happens to be a Wilson Combat gun. So we'll start from the top and then work our way down. On this particular one, this does not have adjustable sights on it, but this has Wilson Combat in-house built, hand-built sights on them, and they are a Battle U-Knot sight. On the front of this one has a fiber optic front. And you know, with fiber optics, you can change any color you want. My eyes pick out green the best, but it has green on it. The top of this gun has serrations on it, so that helps you cut down glare on it. The back of the slide is checkered, also for glare, and the back of this slide is also serrated, so you have a bunch of anti-glare stuff on it. Now, working our way down, we have a little bit of extended thumb safety, a little bit of extended slide stop. Now, folks, this is a slide stop, and that's especially with a 1911, but it's not a slide release. So you should never release your slide, especially if there's not a round in the chamber, and just release your slides. Puts a lot of stress on these weapons. It's not so bad when you have a round in the chamber or you're chambering one. It takes up a lot of that shock, but do not use these things to release it. So moving on down here, we have what they call carry cuts cut into this thing, and this is for going into a holster. It makes it easier going into a holster. I think it's more cosmetic than anything, but if you look at the profile of it, it's really cool looking. On this also, this has got a flush cut and crowned barrel on it. So everything is flush cut. If you can see how well this thing fits in here and everything. It's got a little bit of extended slide magazine release on it, so it makes the ease of doing it. You know, you got skeletonized trigger, and you got cuts out in the frame here to put your hand in here, and this is a medium-sized trigger, so you can fit gloves in here if you were shooting with gloves. On the back here, you have an extended beaver tail safety, grip safety they call it. It's got a little memory hump on them, so no matter when you grab this thing, if you were in distress or anything, or if you were target shooting or competition shooting, you're not going to have to worry about this being engaged, because this has to be engaged on a 1911 to go off. Has an extended beaver tail on him right here, so you don't get any kind of slide bite or hammer bite. And of course, goes along with that, it says like what they call a commander style hammer, so that you can actually have this extending thing on here, and you never have to worry about it. With this thing, you have to use a thumb safety on a 1911, and we'll go into that here today. But here's your thumb safety. It's on that side, and it is also ambidextrous. 1911 people, a lot of lefties have problems with 1911s because a lot of them don't have this this ambidextrous safety on them, but it does have ambidextrous safeties on them. It's got a fluted chamber right here, so The chamber is all fluted and everything. It's also got a fully fluted barrel on it. If you look, it's got flutes in it. I think that's mainly cosmetic. It's got a full-length guide rod in it. Some people like that and don't like it. It's got full checkering up front, full checkering in the back. It's got the best trigger you're ever going to feel on a handgun, folks, and that is no lie. So I'm going to show you the take up with this, and I've mentioned this a zillion times. There is no bad 1911 trigger, but when you start getting into one that's really done up like this, it's bar none probably the best you're ever going to feel. So there's your take up right there, and that's how crisp it is. And your reset's going to be very minimum. That's your reset, and there it is. It's also got, this has got a one-piece mag well on it. So this mainspring housing is all one piece with this mag well, and it's all perfectly blended in and everything like that. So this gun will absolutely, this is a competition style gun, I don't know what you would call it. You can use it for self-defense or anything. See, they've got it countersunk, the slide stop. See, there's no snags or anything goes on that. Wilson Combat does a great job with all that. These are what they call the Starburst grips, and these are sterling silver medallions on them for cosmetics, because they do cosmetics also. And then you just have your lettering on the side. It says Professional and Wilson Combat right here, and got your little Wilson Combat logo right here. Now, when you're taking these two guns, which one's better? Folks, it's all subjective to what you're into. Now, the reason most people think that get into stuff like this, and these can be pretty pricey here, folks. I mean, this is not a cheap firearm right here at all. But you can buy a Sig 320 way cheaper than you can buy this one. But technology is moving people along into this direction that you need all this optic stuff and everything like that to be successful. Well, where are you being successful at? Majority of the people that make bad comments like this only take these things to the range and go on indoor range and shoot paper targets. Well, I can do that better than mostly anybody can with my Ruger 22. It's probably the most accurate gun I own. So that's a pretty old design too. So to say something's dated is absolutely wrong. Now this gun's going to have a big advantage over the 1911 with the capacity. So why do you need the capacity, folks? If you're using it for self-defense, in the majority of the self-defense scenarios, you're going to take 1 to 2 shots. And I don't know of a firearm that doesn't hold more than 2 shots, besides a single shot shotgun or a little 22 rifle or something like that. But majority of all handguns hold more than 1 shot, and you're going to be fine. If you learn how to shoot, you have good shot placement, you're not going to need 17 rounds of anything. You're not going to need 8 rounds of anything. Learn how to shoot and train with it. Now, what makes this one outdated? Is it less accurate? It absolutely isn't. The build quality that goes into a gun like this and the tight tolerances on them, one thing you do with the 1911 is you take this, push down on the barrel, and you don't see any kind of movement. That's what your accuracy comes from, is how well that barrel locks up. Is the modern gun more accurate than this one? It isn't, folks. But normally the accuracy of a handgun is dependent on who is using it, and there's no way that that Sig over there is more accurate than this gun. What is the big factor of it, folks? It's going to be cost. It's not a cheap firearm, but by far it doesn't even come close to what this one costs. And I usually don't go too much in the prices, but this is a higher end polymer frame gun made by Sig Sauer. And it is probably one of the most expensive polymer frame guns that you can buy right out of the box, and you're still going to get close to 5 of those. What you're going to buy one of these for? It's absolutely ridiculous how expensive these things are. But what you're buying craftsmanship, quality gunsmiths that put stuff together and they do it right, and you don't have to question anything about it. Reliability. Which one's more reliable? I've never had a malfunction on either one of them, folks, ever. They're both equally as reliable. Usually with 1911s, reliability starts being affected by like things like magazines and lack of lubrication, oiling. But if you know how to handle and run a 1911, you're not going to have any reliable issues. As long as you get a good one and one from a reputable company and you know how to operate it, you're not going to have any reliable issues. This is your main thing with the 1911 is the magazines. Use good magazines and it will be fine. That also goes true for something like this Sig. Use factory magazines and you'll be fine. You start getting into all these aftermarket magazines with any semi-automatic weapon, you're going to have problems. But to say something is outdated, this is not outdated. This gun will run with this all day long, and with the correct expert shooter, it will beat that gun all day long. I'm not an expert shooter. I'm not beating you with either one of these guns, but this one will outperform this one all day long if a qualified person is operating both of them. So what it is society has leaned towards more of this technology stuff, and people sell gimmicks. And that's why I brought up the Legion as a gimmick. Putting all the $400 and $500 optics on a handgun and all this crazy stuff that people bolt on the here and Cerakote them different colors, that's all gimmicks, folks. It's all a trend and it will all pass, and the next gimmick will come along one day. But rest assured, at the end of the day, when we're all long gone, this design will still be around that people think, the younger crowd think is irrelevant. This 1911 will still be around. It's been around for over 100 years, and the reason they're still producing them is people still buy them because they know it is one of the best pistol designs there's ever been. You're never going to get a better trigger than this. You're never going to get a smoother operating weapon, semi-automatic weapon, than you will in a 1911. But anyway, folks, I just wanted to change gears. I know I've been doing a lot of revolver comparisons here lately, and I figured I'd do this one to lighten people up. And we got a couple of 1911 stuff that I'm going to bring up here within the next few days, few weeks, or whatever. We're gonna show some 1911s to talk about them a little bit. So I wanted to show you that the 1911 is not irrelevant today. And thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.